What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am here with my roommate, Jordan. How do you say your last name?
Tolbert, yeah.
Tolbert. So, of course, being me, I came to New York and was looking through roommates on Facebook, and I find the place that looked the cleanest and was just in a good location, everything. And, of course, I find someone who is ex-Christian gay, or not even ex-Christian, but ex-church world gay.
Yeah. Working on the actual working title there.
Yeah. Which aren't we all?
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a work in progress, but yeah, I'd like to know that you think the apartment looked clean.
Yeah.
I mean, I was definitely struggling with some roommates before that, so.
You must have caught it at a good time.
Yeah, I think I spruced it up for the videos for sure.
You did spruce it up,
Yeah.
and it's been. I mean, I couldn't really say if I hated it, but I can say I like it here.
Okay,
It's been
good.
So thank you for having me and hosting me, and
Of course.
have to live here.
Mi casa, su casa. So.
Yeah. But I was getting here and hearing your story more and more, and we have so much in common, which is cool. Like I happen to find someone that has a very similar journey, and also there's a lot of really interesting parts of your story that stuck out to me, and I asked you to be on the podcast, and you so kindly said yes.
I did indeed, yeah.
And your story of what all the serving you did in the church, like you were fully in it, and then the way you, not even coming out, the way you just admitted you had attraction to men and then lost so much and kind of got ousted. But we'll get into that in a second. I thought that story was really relevant. Well, for my life, it's always incredible to hear these stories and pull them out. But then also I just think it would be really useful for other people to hear.
Yeah, so, for sure.
So I would love to dig into it.
Yeah,
would you be down?
Yeah, sounds great to me.
Okay, cool. So we don't have to go like deep into the childhood, unless it depends how relevant you think the childhood stuff is. But I'd love to hear what growing up was like a little bit, just a brief version.
I mean, more or less, I grew up with a lot of siblings. So my mom has 5 kids, and my dad now has 5 kids. When I was growing up, I had a younger brother, but had my younger sisters a little bit when I was older. But yeah, so I remember when I was really young, like my 2 older brothers from my mom, like would kind of like make fun of me or call me gay or whatever. And I didn't really know what that meant, but like hearing stories going back, like my mom was like, yeah, like you were like playing with dolls, and like,
dang.
My mom's like, I always knew you were gay, basically.
Shoot. Even from like a little child.
Yeah. From being like a very young age, or like, I remember like one time, like I can't even remember what song I was singing in the radio, but my brothers were like, no, you don't say boy, you say girl. You're singing about a girlfriend. And my mom was like, he can sing whatever he wants. So she was in my corner.
That's awful.
But yeah, like I don't remember really like knowing like what being gay meant until I was watching Big Brother with my mom. Yeah. And which is like our thing. Like we watch it every year.
Love Big Brother.
And so there was a gay contestant named, I think, Kevin. And someone asked him on the show, like, when did you know you were gay? And mind you, I'm like 7 years old maybe at this point. And he was like, oh, I just remember like I would always point out guys in my mind and be like, oh, he's attractive or he's cute. And I remember thinking that same thing, and like my heart like skipping a beat like when he said that. So I was very nervous like from that point on. I was like, nobody can know. Like,
wait, how old did you say you were?
I was probably like 7 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very young. Yeah.
So even then you knew there was some sort of like,
absolutely.
You're drawn to men.
Yeah, for sure. And then like I didn't grow up like per se in the church. Like there was times around probably around that same age, around when I was like 6 or 7 years old, my mom would take us to church just because like she really like wanted us to have the church in our lives in some way. But we all hated it.
So she wanted the culture, but not necessarily, she didn't follow everything.
Yeah. And it was interesting because my mom's white and most of my siblings are mixed with like black dads. My oldest sister is white, but my mom would take us to like a predominantly black church. Like it was a very like large scale like Black Baptist church in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I do remember like always like gravitating towards the music portion of it. Like I remember always like that was the only part of it I liked. The rest of it I did not care for, mostly because I just didn't really understand what was happening. But yeah, so that wasn't like a very long experience, but I didn't really start going to church until I was in like the 7th or 8th grade. And that was just because my history teacher was a youth pastor that was like doing like after school Bible studies. and like all my friends were going. There was free pizza, so I was like, hell yeah.
So your Christianity started with pizza.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as many cases do. So
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, so because I was staying after school, there was like no buses that were running that late, basically. So my history teacher, which this could never happen now, was driving me home because I lived across the city. And so he and I just like really got to like get to know one another. And like, yeah, we just like really bonded. I learned a lot about him that I didn't expect would be him. I thought he came from like this perfect lifestyle, like parents are together. My parents were divorced when I was younger. My brothers were crazy. My family situation felt very like intense a lot of times growing up. So like I pictured him as a youth pastor, married with a son at the time. Like he's got everything he's ever wanted. He's never had to deal with anything.
Yep.
So then like hearing that he also had his own family problems growing up, it just was like, oh, okay, like maybe this is something that I can be a part of then. And eventually I started going to his church with him. That was like my first night at church. And I remember being like, wow, this is like really fun. And I didn't really understand like the idea of like denominations or like what was what, but I did immediately like feel like welcomed into like some sense of community, which like as a 12-year-old in the 7th grade, like that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so even though I did know that like I was attracted to men, I feel like I can work that out later. Like right now I'm like with people that enjoy me. They want me to be around and I enjoy being around them.
Yeah, it's like community, safety. A lot of things are really important when you're 12.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something the church does really well.
Yeah, and I remember like in the year prior to that, I had like a really rough year where like I was like very much like, and it's like weird to think about as an 11-year-old, but I was like very much like depressed and like suicidal. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I just moved to a new city that year before. So it was like trying to like make friends and like it was just a lot.
Did you feel like you were kind of different than other people, or was it just general like hard?
I mean, I would say I did feel different than other people, and like I think I was trying to embrace like my differentness a little bit more with like the few friends I did have. Like we were like definitely the weirdos.
Like were you effeminate enough that people thought you were like the other guys, that you were a little bit strange?
Yeah, like I do remember like on my birthday, like one of my girlfriends like brought me like a birthday princess crown or something, and I wore that. And like there was like, I think it was kind of twofold, because like I went to a predominantly white elementary school. So it was like I think one of 2 mixed guys in my whole grade.
Seriously.
And then there was one black guy. And I remember like him like calling, like the black kid like called me out like for wearing the princess crown. And he was like, that's really gay. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess so. And like I went home and like told my mom, and she's like, yeah, but you're just playing the field. Like when you guys get to middle school, you're gonna have girls all over you, and he's not gonna have anyone. Like don't worry about what he said.
Aw,
so like
Mom.
Again, she was in my corner the whole time.
She didn't even like make you think about it. She just
exactly. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's right. And then I like used that like comeback the next time he said something to me. I was like, I'm gonna have girls on both arms, and you're not gonna have any.
Which is true. If you wanted girls on both arms, you are capable.
Yeah, absolutely. So
they love a sweet guy.
Yeah, I was just working my way around the women, I guess. But yeah, so when I was going into the 7th grade, like I was just like, okay, I really need to make friends this year. Like it was like a non-negotiable for me. I was like, it was weird. I gave myself this ultimatum that I was like, if I don't make friends, I guess I will just myself. And it was just like a very like weird thing. So I was like, well, I don't want myself, but I probably like should like make friends then if I don't want to. So it was like this whole like conversation I had conjured up in my own brain. Which is just like goes to show like how like depression can like really like manifest itself.
Isolation, especially as a kid, that's so hard. For
sure. So yeah, when I found this like community that not only were like they like welcoming of me, but they were also like older than me. So I was like 12 years old. Most of the people that were at this like youth church, like youth group service that I was going to were like 17 or 18. And then like all of the leaders were like in their 20s. And then my youth pastor was like just turning 30, I think, at the time. So I like felt like, wow, like these like older people like really liked me. And like, yeah, of course I want to stick around. So it became like a thing where then like the next week I invited some more friends from school to come up with us to church. And then it was like me and like 3 of my friends that were going like weekly. And then like eventually we had to start taking a church van, and then we had to start taking multiple church vans. Like,
Dang.
and it was like a 40-minute commute. Like,
So you're a little evangelist. You're bringing all the kids from school in the neighborhood to church.
Exactly. And so then because of that, like I immediately got like brought on to like the leadership team.
Wow. At what age?
Like 12 or 13. So the Sunday services is where I found out that the church was Pentecostal.
Okay.
Prior to that, I had no understanding of like denominations or
right. And so your old church before that was kind of more standard stuff.
Yeah, I mean it was like the black churches you would see in a Tyler Perry movie was nice. Like the church that I went to. And so
fun, but like phenomenal music.
Yeah, great music, and like I'm sure that the messages were very inspiring.
So now you're at this like little Pentecostal, like probably Ohio, white church in Ohio. Yeah. So the vibes were different.
Very different.
Like speaking in tongues kind of Pentecostal?
Speaking in tongues,
getting a little weird.
Skirts. The girls aren't cutting their hair.
Okay.
Some of the guys are like wearing like quarter-length sleeves because like they can't show their elbows. Oh. So it was interesting. And the music was like such a big part of when I was younger going to church.
Yeah.
And it remained that like when I started going to Haven, which is what my youth group was called. Mm-hmm. And then we go on Sundays and I was like, oh, this is not the same vibe at all.
Yeah.
Like it was very interesting. And then like now looking back, like I see a lot of, and I don't like think that a lot of people in the church mean this intentionally, but I was the only black kid. And so
you're bringing like 50 people to this church. Were those all white kids?
I mean, they were my friends from school. So yeah. I mean, a majority of them were. Yeah, like one of my really close friends. She was mixed, just like I was. So she and I like bonded together like really close. We tried to date at one point. It didn't work. She wanted me to like wear Aztec print and stuff, and I was just like, this is not me.
Yeah. So what did that feel like being the only, like when you thought about that? You said you realized that.
Yeah.
Did that feel good, bad?
I always like recognized it. Like it wasn't anything that I was unaware of, I guess. Yeah. But I was just like, we're 40 minutes away from where I live. There's no black people up here. Like they're not in the community to even like really be reached. Like we were in the middle of cornfields basically.
No, you know the crazy statistic, I don't know if you know this, but the church is the most segregated meeting space in the country.
That I believe 100%.
Like more than any other groups or like activities or anything.
Yeah.
Community space.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty sad when you think about it. It's kind of messed up.
Absolutely. And then when they do get anyone that looks a little bit different, it's like, put them on the stage.
They're like, put them on the newsletters. No, at my church, we like that one like person that wasn't white was in every single like slide and like thing. And it's like community. It's like how that person's in there like 6 times. So
for sure.
That I was like, why? Well, if we're not actually pulling in people that are different, why are we pretending like we are?
Exactly.
I guess you want to try and
pull in. The hope is like that, like when you're representing that group of people, they'll come in. Yeah.
Or not really digging into the real details of why. I mean, there's a layer in there I don't understand, obviously.
Yeah, no.
But I think there should be some maybe thought into why that's happening. Anyways, that's another segue.
Yeah, not that they're gonna do the research necessarily for that.
They'll just take the photo and move on.
We'll just keep on moving with that one.
Yeah. Anyways, but that's So you're bringing all these kids in. You're fully invested. Would you say like you're worried about your sexuality at this point, and are you like connecting to God at this point? What's all going on in that world?
So I definitely remember early on, like one of like the first few times I started going up to church. Yeah. Like going with my youth pastor. And I remember seeing like 2 girls walking down the street, and I just kind of thought like, okay, like, yeah, I'm attracted to guys, but I'm going to church and like everything's fine. And so I remember seeing these 2 girls walking down the street and they were holding hands. And I remember going like, oh, that's so cute. And my youth pastor going, no, it's not. It's disgusting. And I was like, oh yeah, right.
You didn't know that they were anti-gay at that point.
I had no idea like at all.
Dang.
And so I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And
did you know that you might like that you were likely going to be the guy at that point?
Oh yeah.
So you're like, you freak out.
Yeah. I remember like my first day of 7th grade, like everybody's like trying to figure out who everyone is. And like, I was in like a gym class and some kid asked me like, are you straight? And I remember like, it felt like the longest like second of my life where I was like, maybe I could say I'm bi. And like, this could be the defining moment of my life. And I was like, no, I'm straight. And like, but yeah, so like at that point, like I was kind of like, okay, I know that I'm into guys. So eventually like I'll come out, but not right now.
Yeah.
And so like, but then from the moment that I heard him say that about those 2 girls, I kind of just like sat up in my chair and I was like, okay, so now I need to make sure that he does not think that I'm gay. from then on, I was kind of like a lot more aware of it. Went to my first youth camp, and it is literally like, looking back, it is set up to make you have these like emotional breakthroughs. That is literally just you're having a mental breakdown. We go to this camp. It looking back at it now, it looks like Auschwitz. Like the conditions, like there's no AC. You're sleeping on a cot that is like in a 3-tier bunk bed. And like you're in these dorms with like all these guys, and first of all, you're trying not to make me gay, and then I'm like watching all these guys like take off all their clothes right in front of me after like a sweaty day. And then you're running around all day in the sun playing these games, getting dehydrated, malnourished, eating slop for the dinner, and then going into a church service again with no AC. They're playing music really loud, they're preaching at you and like screaming, and then like they have an altar call that's like hours long, where like the goal is to break you down and make you cry. And so I have a whole 5 days of that. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gay anymore. Like, this is phenomenal. And so I was just like, this is the answer. And so then like after that, I'm reading my Bible every day, and I'm journaling, and I'm praying, and I'm like, wow, I haven't watched porn in a whole 5 days. Like, I'm doing so good. Like, this is going to be my testimony. Like, I came through it. I can now bring like all these gay people to church.
5 days later.
And literally on day 6,
planning your testimony.
I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I messed up. And then I was like, I had this moment where I was like, maybe I'll be the first gay pastor, as if that, because I just didn't know that like that was even an option, like that people like actually exist that support gay people in the church.
You're just a kid trying to figure out all this out with no info.
So I was just like, oh, maybe I can do that. I had no idea like what was what at that point. So then it became like this back and forth for years. And I think like it really started to kind of come to a head when I was like a junior in high school. I think that was like when I was really like, okay, this is like I'm gonna have to make a choice at some point. So I
like, what was the choice? What were you?
Well, so I think like the summer before my junior year of high school, I was talking with a friend of mine that I was like really close with, and he's like, oh, did you hear that so and so is gay? And it was like this guy that I had met one time, and I was like, oh, really? Not someone that I ever would have been attracted to, but just like hearing that he was gay, I was like, oh, maybe he is a little bit more attractive. But because I was just like desperate.
No, and it makes you think about that when you're like, oh, there's actually someone that I could be gay with. It kind of changes the thought. So then like I remember like I went to my church camps that summer, and then I come back to school, and I'm like, I see this guy, and he's like hanging around like closer with like all of my friend group, and I'm like, okay, I could get him to come to church with us. And I'm like, that was like my goal. I was like, I'll get him to come to church. I'll help him to see the error in his ways. And then like, it'll again be like his whole testimony. And then like, it ended up like being like us like Snapchatting or something. And eventually I think I was the aggressor. I think I like made the first move. Well, you've been so pent up at this point.
And like I'd never had anyone to like express it with. So like I think whatever I was saying, we made some plan to like meet up like after school or something, and I think he had a car, so like we went and like parked somewhere, and like that was like the first like sexual experience I really
So you had your first, was that your first kiss?
It wasn't my first kiss.
It's okay, you don't have to go into that. But yes, this was the first experience. And so then how'd that go? What did you feel after?
Well, I definitely felt horrible. I was like, wow, I was supposed to be getting this guy to come to church, and now like I'm in the back seat of his car, and then his car died, and we had to call his mom to come jump the car at a park. And I'm like, let me go hide in the woods. And then like, I was like,
come back out?
Yeah.
Because was he hiding too? He was also.
He was out.
Okay, he was out, but you didn't want to be seen.
But I was like, I don't want your family to know that like I'm here with you alone at a park and your car died. Like it was just like a lot.
Because they'll know you were ashamed. So you're going through all this, and then all of a sudden you can't get home, and you're just feeling shame.
I was like, wow, this is God's punishment. Like legitimately, I was just like,
our brains always go there.
I was like, this is
in that background.
Like, this is my fault. This is what I get for doing this. And so then like I was like, I can never do this again. Well, the whole year we were basically doing this, but I did get him to come to church, and like under this guise that I was like bringing this gay person to church, and like I was showing them the light and all this stuff. And like,
how old are you at this point?
16, 17
Okay,
years
so you're
old.
getting older.
Yeah, I'm getting a
You're
little bit
finally
older.
like, yeah. So you're trying not to be gay, but it's just not working out so well.
And then like eventually like it became a situation where I told him over and over again, like I didn't want to fully have sex. Like I was just like, we can do oral, like that's fine, but like I don't want to have sex. Because I felt like that was like the line I didn't want to cross. I didn't want to like get to the marriage bed with my wife and be like, well, I've actually like had sex like before.
Yeah,
but,
you could be
like,
used the like, oh, we just fooled around with guys. Didn't really, you know,
So
this is
like,
still just us.
Right. I wanted to like save that for my wife. And so, yeah, I remember at one point, like I stayed the night at his house on like a Saturday night. We were going to drive to church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And of course, and then like, I remember, like, I think we hooked up, we like gave each other head or something. And then I think while he was like giving me head, he just kind of like moved up and then just kind of like sat on me and like put me like inside of him. And I was like, that's not what I wanted to happen.
Like, whoops.
And then I was just like, well, it's too far gone now, so I might as well just like embrace it. And so like I stopped short of saying that he raped me because like I didn't feel at the time that it was like me getting. It was definitely not something I consented to, but it wasn't like an aggressive thing that he did. But definitely would not have welcomed it if he asked me, but he didn't ask me. So
so you got pushed somewhere you weren't ready to go. And so then I imagine you felt awful in a lot of ways after that.
That same night, I wake up in a cold sweat, and in his pitch black basement, there was like one like tiny like window well or something that like had barely like any light that was coming through. And so I'm like, why am I so scared right now? And like I felt like this like sense of like so much fear. And so I'm like looking at like the little bit of light, and like in my like sleepiness, like stupor and like anxiety, I legitimately think that I see the devil. And I'm like, wow, the night that I have sex, I'm seeing the devil. But now it's like, and it was just like reaffirming that like, oh my God, the devil's coming after us because we're gay. Yeah. And like, we're going to church and we're acting like it's all fine. And like, so like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly at what point we cut things off. I think he started telling people about us. And like,
that was no good.
And that got back to me. And I was like, okay, well then we're done. Because like, you cannot be telling people this. Like, this is like, ruining any fantasy that I had.
Yeah, that you weren't gay.
Right. And
yeah,
like,
and it's going to out you, and your whole community is now based in the church, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
you're probably worried about that as well.
Yeah, and not for nothing, but I'm also like in my school, like I'm known as like the Christian guy.
The preacher kid.
Like I'm the kid that's like setting up all these Bible studies every week and getting dozens of people to go to church. So it's like, oh, that guy's gay. We knew it. Like,
so the duality of that, living those lives, what were you feeling internally during that period?
Panic
all the time. So you're always scared someone's going to find out.
Anytime somebody's and like to this day, like it's definitely like some PTSD. If someone just texts me, like just saying my name or like, hey, we need to talk, I'm like, oh God, like what did they find out? Like, because I was always like so scared that somebody was going to find out that I was gay.
Yeah.
When my mom, anytime she would like call me into her room or something, I'm like, she knows. She's going to call me out right here. And like, I just had no way to like defend myself at that point.
So you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was this like sense of anxiety all the time. Like, and it just like never went away.
So you're worried about losing community. Are you worried about like going to hell? What's all?
Absolutely.
The whole list. Like that's all.
And I remember like telling this to myself, but also to my friends was, I'm taking all these people to church because even if I can't get to heaven, I want to get other people there. And like, that was like my mindset was that's like, heavy. I think I'm going to hell, but I think if I can get more people to heaven, maybe that'll give me a chance because like God will see like all of the work that I did to like really help.
Yeah.
And then I remember like one of my like leaders, I don't remember if it was my youth pastor or what, but he told us like, you can never lead people beyond where you are as a leader. So I was like, well, I guess everyone I just brought to church is going to hell then. I was like, what do I do?
They all become gay somehow.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, my gayness is going to rub off. They're all going to be down there. Like we're done for.
Yeah. If it is a sin, how did you bring so many people to Christ? That's a great question.
And so then I think it really like took over like my life from like my junior through like my senior year of high school. And then it started to come to a head because like, I was constantly like, I was either in church or I was out of church trying to hook up with a guy. Yeah. I was like a minor on Grindr trying to like hook up with grown men all the time. Like,
Yeah.
just like, okay, it's late at night. My mom lets me use her car. I can just like take her car and go do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
So like I was doing that for like a majority of my senior year while I'm running Bible studies, while I'm running like all of these people to and from church. I'm planning like a whole like citywide like event to be held at my high school for like multiple churches to come together and like bring all of their like students in, bring in like family members and stuff to like really evangelize the city. I'm like planning this like my whole senior year, and like I'm also at the forefront because I'm student body president at the time. And so I'm just like, everybody's looking at me, everybody's expecting things of me, and I've got this huge secret that nobody can find out, but eventually somebody's going to recognize me, somebody's going to say something. And little did I know, people were already like saying things because of this guy that had basically outed me.
Okay, so word was getting out, but you thought your secret was intact. But
Yeah.
your pastors didn't know, so you were still...
Yeah, my pastors didn't know, like, to my knowledge at least.
Yeah.
And then eventually it just became like so much that I think it was probably like I want to say like March of like 2018. So I was like not even like fully 18 at this point. My birthday's in April. I was going to be graduating in like a month and a half. And I remember like texting my youth pastor and being like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, can you pick me up this week? Like, and like, we can just like talk because like I have a lot of things I need to tell you about. And like, I remember like all week, like I was like, hey, you're still picking me up tomorrow, right? Like, cause I didn't want to like lose the nerve.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, finally, like he gets to my house and he's like, okay, so what do you want to talk about? And so I like basically just like spill my guts on everything. I'm like, me and that guy that's no longer coming to church, like we were hooking up like all last year. Like I've known that I'm into guys like since I was really young. Like I gave him like the whole thing, and he was like, yeah, I know. And he was like, I mean, I didn't think that you were like hooking up with guys, but like I've always known that you were like attracted to the same sex.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, that's why I like pushed back on so many things like with you, because I was not trying to like encourage it basically. I was like, okay, so what now? And he was like, okay, well now like we need to have you take a step back because like you've been in leadership since you first started being in church basically. Like, and I remember like his words were like something like, you've never had a chance to like just be poured into. Like you've always been like going and like pouring out and like teaching people and leading people, and never really just like had a chance to like actually like learn anything or listen. And it became like problematic for me, like because I was like, okay, yeah, like I didn't think that I was going to be told like, no, you can't be on the worship team anymore, which like, I mean, I didn't really want to be on the worship team in the first place, but like they wanted a guy up there and like
singing. Or
my mic was low, but it was more
for the
so
vibes.
Yeah, I had like I had a very Bethel music way of worship too, where I was like moving around a lot. He was like, yeah, we're gonna like take you off of like the worship team. We're gonna not have you like do any speaking or anything. And like I was also like in like the Easter play coming up, so I was like, am I still gonna do the Easter play? Which I also did not want to do because they didn't tell me I had a singing solo in it. And he was like, oh no, you can still do that. I was like, oh great. But so yeah, like the point was like to take me, like just to give me some time to like really be poured into, and like that like worked for a while for me. I like,
so you started just not serving, nothing, just going.
And like I remember I gave my student body president speech, which like I remember it was the closing speech at graduation. And my principals, my school told us like, okay, well, like it needs to be like 2 minutes. Like everybody's names have already been called. People are going to be antsy to leave. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, I've got a lot to say. And I mean, I think it went on for like 10 minutes, which like I had to like submit the speech to them and like have them review it. Yeah, they knew how long it was going to be. So like the speech was like very well received. I talked about God, and like I like really like went in on like the community of like my city and how proud I am to be like a part of it, and like how when people are like feeling down and out, like they need to trust and lean on God and like come to this point in their lives. I was preaching at people.
Yeah. And this was in the phase where you'd stop looking at anything, kind of stop looking up, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to do the right thing now. So I told my leaders.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and how long did that
This was like, I mean, probably like a month and a half. Like
Okay.
I've been like,
But
on,
you're
the,
like
on the straight and narrow, basically.
Yeah. And so you're in that mode. You're like fired
Yeah.
up. And so you're preaching the
Exactly.
the whole
So-
class about this.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, like everybody's receiving this really well. Like the video of it like was getting shared all over Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm getting like asked to do like interviews for like my local TV station and like be on like these like panels to like
Wow.
discuss like I felt like a hometown celebrity
Like
basically.
it's all about God. It
Yeah,
was about
exactly,
how
yeah.
God will change your life, that kind
Right.
of thing. Yeah.
Maybe like a couple weeks after, somebody it had to have been like for Pride Month, because someone had posted something on Twitter about Pride Month, and me and my newfound wisdom in life, I decided to quote the tweet and like respond to it or something, basically explaining why like being gay is a sin and what the Bible has to say about it that's
Dang.
not in Leviticus, because Levitical law is
Yeah.
outdated. And I was like, but
Romans.
but there's new things
But
that
there's
you guys
Romans.
haven't talked about.
Dang.
And so like it was like probably like a 10 or 11 like tweet long thread.
The people that fight the worst are always the gay
And
ones.
I was like doubling down. Like,
Dang.
and then
Like 2 months earlier, you're like, and
Yeah,
you're just like,
exactly.
no, I'm gonna fix
And-
everybody else too.
and then it became like everyone, like I went from like hometown hero to like public enemy number one.
Public homophobe,
Like
number one.
really, really bad. Like I had people in my DMs like
You poor guy.
that were like my friends in high school
Yeah.
that were like, why are you saying this? Like, do you understand like how much you're hurting people? I was like,
And they know you're gay too.
yeah, I was like, I'm not hurting people. Like, I'm telling people the truth.
Yeah.
And like this is legitimately like how I was thinking.
Because this whole time you're hooking up, doing all these things, but you fully believe being gay was evil and wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And now you're finally you overcame it. So you're ready to preach that.
So I'm like,
from the
now it's like
mountaintops.
everybody else's chance. Like, this is why this is why I had to stop, because like
Yeah.
this is the truth.
Yeah.
And I just have to live my life by truth. And then the subtweets started coming where like my my friends from high school were like tweeting about me, but not like adding me in it. And like someone said something, I remember, that was essentially just, it was, oh, how come all of the closeted homophobes are, it was something about like you're closeted and we all know it, and you're preaching about like how being gay is bad. And I was like, holy shit, like this is not good. And so I just deleted my whole Twitter.
Then much longer after that did you stay on the straight and narrow?
I would say through that summer,
Okay.
Summer of 2018,
The holy summer of 2018.
I was doing like my,
You're
I
most
was
straight.
Yeah, I was like officially 18 years old. I was officially like a youth leader, like for
Okay.
sure.
So they let you back in. You got
Especially at like the youth camps and everything. So I was like, wow, this is great. I was going to be going to college like only an hour away from home. It was like a 30-minute drive from my church. So it was like nothing was really going to change.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have this accountability, and I was just like ready to go and like take on college at this point. And then I get to college, and I mean like just like that amount of freedom, where it was like before, like, yes, I was like stealing my mom's car and like going and hooking up with guys. But now it's like there's nobody to like be scared of catching me.
Right. You don't live at your parents' house. You
Exactly.
get dorms, all that.
Yeah. So
You're in a new city, right? So you don't have your church around
yeah,
you.
I mean, like I was in Dayton, Ohio at the time.
Yeah.
My church was in Germantown, Ohio, which was like a literal like 30-minute drive from.
Okay, but you're out of your normal environment.
Yeah.
And you're still going to church at this point? Are you
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
Okay.
I'm still going every Thursday, and again, like I'm like meeting people that I'm like in class with, and I'm like, wow, I think they're hot, but like I want them to come to church with me since I can't have them, whether they were gay or not. Like I was just like, these are people that I want to be friends with because I can't like hook up with them. So at least I'll just be friends with them and get them to heaven.
No,
like,
a lot of my friends that I'd find in ministry school even were hot men. I'd be like, I don't know, you just seem cool.
Absolutely. And so I do remember like this like crazy like shift when like my freshman year of college, I was like, nobody's gonna know. So I remember I was just like hooking up with everybody. So then I remember I got my first STD, and I was like, oh God. I was like, what do I do? Like, so
no one prepared you for this.
Yeah, I just like went to urgent care, and I was like, I don't have insurance. I was like, can you guys help me? And I just paid for it out of pocket, which like I had no money, and then I had even less money.
Gosh.
So I remember like that, I think was like the breaking point. So, it was like over Christmas break, I think. And so I was like, okay, now I'm going to be done. Then I remember going with one of my friends from church to his alma mater. He was like finishing up his master's degree, I think. And so he was like, oh, do you want to go with me? I'm going to be preaching down in Oklahoma, and my school's in Oklahoma. So I'm like, do you want to help like preach with me a little bit and like go down there? I was like, yeah, sure. Sounds good. And one of my high school friends was actually going to the same school. So I like go down, I visit this school, and I was like, wow, this is everything I want out of college. It's a private Christian school. The campus is gorgeous. And like everything about it was just like, wow, this is exactly what I want. Like it was like all these Christian people, to my knowledge, that are just like loving God. They've got chapel every 2 days. I'm like, oh, that's what I need. Because I thought if I could just like go to more church, then I would have less time to like be gay. So I was just like, if I can do 2 chapel services a week, find a church to get plugged into, be at a youth group or a young adult service. And then Sunday, I'm like, then all I really have to do is like not be gay on Tuesday and Saturday. And I'm solid. I end up going to this school knowing full well that they have like an honor code. There's no drinking, no cussing, no sex.
It's a good Christian school.
And they're like, and there's also stipulated like we don't support like homosexuality. If you like engage in any of these acts, like there will be like consequences, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, hell yeah,
great.
Like that's exactly what I need. Like I need some accountability there. And so like I enroll at the school. I get like a pretty solid scholarship to like go down. It was like I think like 50% of tuition was getting covered. So I was like, okay, sick. Like let's do it. So then comes like the second semester, and I'm like feeling so comfortable. I'm like, I'm doing really well. I haven't hooked up with any guys, like all this stuff. And I end up like bringing, we were doing like a testimony night or something with like all the guys on my floor. And so I end up like telling my roommate, who I was really close with, like just before this like testimony night, I'm like, hey, like, just so you know, like in my past, like I've hooked up with guys. I was like, I think it's better that you know now, and you're not like blindsided when I talk about it here in about 10 minutes. I was like, I just want to make sure like you know before anybody else, because like I feel like that's just like important. And he was like, I still love you. Like, that's not a problem. Like, he was like really cool about it.
And you've been on like almost like several months of, you know, basically being
probably
celibate.
Probably going on a year at this point.
A year of celibacy. Yeah.
And so then I meet with like all these guys that are my closest friends at this point. And I tell them, I'm like, yeah, like this is like my story. Like a lot of people like tend to be really surprised by it, but like I have like hooked up with a lot of guys in my life. I've always been attracted to men, but like at this point in my life, I'm very much like just like perfectly fine with like being celibate, all this stuff. And like there's just like a resounding silence by the time I finish. Nobody knows what to say. And one of my like really good friends now, who actually was my roommate before you, he was our chaplain at the time. And so he tells us, he's like, well, why don't we just like all go around and like say something like encouraging for Jordan, and like again silence. And then the first thing someone says, one of these kids, I say kid, but like we're all grown men at this
like
point,
20 or something.
And he goes, well, I appreciate you telling us that, and I believe God's gonna deliver you from it. And like immediately I'm just like, that's what you got out of that? I'm like, I'm telling you that like I am not going to get delivered from it. Like and like I remember I'm sure plenty of people have had this thought before, but like this idea that like in the Bible that Paul had like this thorn in his side. I always was like, Paul was gay. Like that was just like in my mind. I'm like, there is no other like sin that I could think of outside of being gay that like you would just never tell anybody about. And I was like, yeah, that just like made sense to me. The thorn in the side, it's like a permanent like you can't get rid of this thing. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you pray, like whatever. And so I was just like, yeah, that's my thorn in my side, is that I'm gay. I'm not going to get rid of it, but like, I'm not going to act on it. And so
accepting it kind of helps on some level.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, yeah, I'm going to be celibate, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be sad. Like, I'm just not going to get married to a woman. But like for these guys that are in like these Christian universities, like that is like the pinnacle of their life. Is like, I'm going to marry a woman. That is like the goal outside of just like getting to heaven.
It's all they talk about really at the leaders too.
Absolutely.
That's all they talk about. It's getting married.
And like, up until like the year before, like my whole life, I'm just like, okay, I have to get married to a woman, and then that'll fix my problems. But like finally at this point, I'm like, no, that's not what's going to happen. But then again, like all these guys go around, and like some of them are like a little bit more eloquent than others. Like they're like, thanks for sharing. Like we appreciate you. We love you. Like all this stuff. So I didn't have like a negative reaction in that way. And then a couple weeks later, my chaplain that like facilitated that whole situation, he like calls me into his dorm, and he's like, hey, so one of the guys told me that this other guy is telling people that you've sent him nudes. I was like, huh? And it happened to be this guy that was like on the cheerleading team that, like, not to be mean, but like I never would have been attracted to this guy.
Yeah, he's not your type.
Like, not my type at all. He's like telling people that I sent nudes to him. My chaplain, he's like, did you do it? And I'm like, no. And he's like, okay, so do you want me to like tell admin about it? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like, get this guy like in trouble. Like, why is he saying shit like that? And so then he goes and tells administration, and then they call me in, and they're like, basically like tell us like what's going on. And mind you, I'm like still going through like the chaplain internship at this point. It's probably like 2 weeks out from like them like announcing like whether you've like gotten through and you'll be placed for the next school year. And so I'm like telling them all of this, and I'm like, yeah, like I basically give them the whole testimony that I gave 2 weeks prior with like all my guy friends. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm doing really well. Like I'm going to counseling. Like I haven't like hooked up with any guys. Like I'm like, everything's going great. And they're like, okay, well, have you sent nudes before? And I was like, yeah, but like it would like that would have been like when I was living in Ohio. Like there's no way that he would like have his hands on those. I'm like, I'm not even 20 years old, and Snapchat was like my best friend for years and years. Yeah. So yes, I've sent nudes before. And so like they're like, okay, yeah, well, we're gonna talk to him as well, and like we'll get back to you. And then they call him in, and he just denies that it ever like happened. He's like, oh, I never said that, and no, I don't have any nudes. Well, duh, you don't have any nudes because I didn't send them to you. So then they're like, okay, yeah, go ahead and go back and be on the cheerleading team. You're fine. All of the chaplain internship like assignments come out, and all of like these guys that I am like friends with are like, oh, I'm so excited. Like, this is where I'm going to be placed next year. Like, this is the floor I'm going to be on. Where are you going to be? And I'm like, oh, I didn't get through. And like, they're all like looking at me like, you didn't get through? Like you? Yeah. And like, I was like, yep. And to me, like, I knew immediately why I didn't get through.
Yeah. Because your grades are fine. Everything else you're doing is fine.
Everything was great. And like, they all knew that I had been asked already to be in a chaplain.
You basically were invited at this point.
And so like, they're like, what do you mean? Like, you didn't get through the internship when you were already asked to be a chaplain? I'm like, yeah, I don't know, because I didn't like want to tell them like without like having confirmation. And like this whole year I've also like raised a bunch of money to go on a missions trip. Like, I'm the only person on my team that's like fully funded at this point. And I get to this meeting, and they basically tell me like, yeah, like we appreciate you like being honest and like letting us know about everything. But given your history, we want to put you on a growth plan just to make sure that like you're okay. Like, so for the next year, you're going to be meeting, you're going to be going to counseling, which you're already doing. So good job on that. You're going to be meeting with this administrator like once a month, or I think it was supposed to be once a week actually.
Wow.
And they're like, so we just want to make sure everything's good. And I'm like, okay. And then they go, also, you're not going to be allowed to go on your missions trip this year. Oof. And this is why like you didn't get a chaplain placement. So you won't be eligible to be placed until your senior year, which like at this point is my sophomore year. I'm like, okay, so I won't be a chaplain then, because I'm not going to do that my senior year.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it felt like the rug got pulled out from under me. I'm like, wait, so when you didn't know anything about my story and like you were just using your discernment, you offered me the position.
Yeah.
And now I'm being honest, which is like the whole tenet of this school and our faith is like honesty and truth and like being humble enough to like share your vulnerabilities with people, and you're punishing me for it. And I'm like, so now I've like, what happens to the money that I've raised? Do I just like send it back to these people? And they're like, oh no, like you can hold on to it, and then come your senior year, you'll be able to use it to go on a trip that year. I'm like in shock, essentially. My school decided to call my mom to tell her and inform her about the situation that I was in.
And that situation being that someone else lied, and that a year ago you had been hooking up.
Yeah. So
there's no new news, but they still decided to call her.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, this is my mom who like at this point in my life, I'm not like super close with. Yeah. So it was like, kind of like, why are you calling my mom? Like, yeah. And they were like, oh, well, she's on some of your student loans. So
they basically outed you to her.
In a sense, yeah.
She knew, but like, in a way they did.
So she knew because of a prior experience my freshman year, really.
Yeah.
Where where I was on Grindr, and I pressed my home button when home buttons were still a thing, and it scanned my fingerprint and bought a Grindr subscription by accident using
that's bad
my
luck.
parents' card.
That's such bad luck.
And yeah,
so she knew.
So I had to call my mom and basically like tell her like, hey, like, I know this is going to be a surprise, but like, this is like something I've been dealing with, but don't worry. Like, I'm getting help with it from like my leaders at church. Like, and so she was just like, okay, like, and we just never talked about it again.
Yeah. Until now.
Until then, where my
years
school's
later,
like,
when
my
your
school's
school's
basically, they're telling her like, oh, if you can just like make sure that when he's home this summer, like that you're like keeping an eye on him.
Her like 20-something-year-old son.
Right. And like,
stop him.
So she legitimately did not want me to leave the house. Like, because like, yes, COVID's going on, but also it was like the summer of George Floyd. So it was like a lot of like just uneasiness.
She didn't want you to leave the house because she's worried about you being gay, or
I think it was all of the above.
Okay. So they did scare her a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was more so she was nervous about like what would happen if my school found out, and she didn't want me to get expelled or get in any more trouble. Yeah,
that makes sense.
But yeah, again, like my family was not like involved in church to any extent at this point in my life.
So this has all happened. Your school has now basically treated you kind of like a criminal for something you've been like feeling like you were really on top of. You're feeling really good about yourself at this point. You're thinking you're beating this, and all of a sudden your school's punishing you. Now, what kind of feelings are you feeling at that point?
I tried to have some acceptance over it. I was like, okay, like they're meaning well. They're trying to make sure that I'm growing. But then I think when I got home and it became like I had to get on a call like every month with like the dean or whatever, it was kind of like I got to this point and I'm like, why exactly like am I being treated like this? And I just started to realize like, why was I told I can't be a chaplain? Why was I told that I can't be on a missions team? And it was like, not because they want me to be perfect or at least strive to be like this like good Christian. Yeah. Because like everybody's going to struggle obviously, but it was because of image. Like they didn't want it to get out that somebody that has struggled with being gay and potentially still could be is like on like facilitating like anything on campus. They didn't want my image and my testimony to not be in their control essentially. Yeah. And so that's when I just kind of I started to realize that like that summer of COVID, like after I was like already going through all of this. And then that's
so you kind of feel like, is it internally, does it feel like they're ashamed of you or like they're rejecting you? Like, does that just
it felt like they were scared of me.
Yeah.
And
so you don't feel trusted. You don't feel like they see you as a good, safe person, all those kind of.
And it was also like just very backwards because like I knew so many like RAs and chaplains at the time that were, I mean, spiritually not doing better than I was.
Yeah.
Like, whether
plenty of people are hooking up, etc.
People are hooking up. People are like going out and like drinking, like, and people, oh God, were cussing. That was like, I was like, I would never have cussed when I was in my first year of school there. Like that was like one thing that I was like, absolutely not. Yeah. And so it's like I see all these people that are like doing much worse than me and not even like trying to do better about it. Yeah. And like they're all like living their lives as they want to, but because I was open and honest, now I'm like being set back and I'm being punished in a way that didn't seem fair. Yeah. And so, I was just like, that was like the first kind of like strike, I think, that I kind of like put against the school, and just like whether or not I thought that I was putting that against the church as well is like a whole different conversation. But
no, it's injustice that hurts.
Yeah. I definitely remember going home that summer, and like, because my mom was like trying to like look out for me, she like wanted me to share my location with her. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
You're 20.
Because I'm 20 years old. Like I've now had 2 years of like this freedom where I can do whatever I want. And now I'm home, and yes, I'm like living under my mom's roof, but like I want to still be able to do what I want to do. And so like that just felt like an additional like weight. And then like I was like, you know what? Why don't I just like be the person that they think that I am then? Yeah. And so I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to start hooking up with guys again. Yeah. And so like I started like meeting up with like a few different guys here and there. And like at the time, because like COVID was a thing, like I wasn't going to church every week because like we couldn't gather. And so then I get back to school that next year, and I'm like lying to like all the administrators, like, oh, I'm doing so good, like blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, everything's going great. And I'm like, I'm just going to tell them what they want to hear then. If like, if that's what gets me the job, if that's
doing the actual right thing doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So who cares?
It's like, if I don't have to do anything the right way, then I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to get rewarded for it, then great.
Yeah, you get punished for just existing. It's like there's no way to win anyways.
Yeah. I think this is probably strike two. Was I get into my second semester of my junior year in college, and I get an email saying that like there was an issue and that I owe like an absurd amount of money. And I'm like, wait, I'm confused. And they're like, oh, well, we didn't catch it last semester, but you owed us like half of what we're saying right now. You owed us last semester. So now if you don't pay it by the end of the week, you're going to be de-enrolled. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I have like this whole scholarship. And they're like, oh, we took that away actually. And I was like, why did it get taken away? And come to find out that the school that year, because of COVID, was not going to have their 12th year of like increased enrollment for incoming classmen. So what they did was took a bunch of scholarships away from upperclassmen and gave them to their incoming like freshmen or like transfer students. And I think when I first started going to the school, I thought it was like a church that was being a school.
Yeah.
And then I, at this point, was starting to realize like, oh, this is a business.
Yeah.
And like they're treating it like a business and masquerading as a church. And then like that same year, like because of like all the things that were happening with like George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
And like, mind you, this is a very conservative school. Like there's some like liberal students, but the vast majority of students are very conservative, including the university president who had like doted himself as like the campus pastor essentially. So he would speak basically every Wednesday and Friday in our chapel services. And he had a lot of missteps, I would say, to say the least. There was, I believe, one time either like my junior or senior year where he did not understand what a do-rag was. And he was preaching some message about someone who was working in a field or something, and he was saying that they didn't even have a do-rag, and he equated the do-rag. I think he was thinking it was a handkerchief. Yeah. But he equated the do-rag and said like, now do-rags are worn by gangsters and hoodlums, and so he was, I think, thinking of like the idea that like Bloods and Crips have like their red and their blue like handkerchiefs or whatever, bandanas. Yeah. But he was thinking of a do-rag. And so now you've got all of these students from all over the world that wear do-rags every single night because it's not a gang related sentiment. No. It's just like a way that you style your hair and maintain your hair as like someone who has like an ethnically textured hair. Yeah. It's super like culturally unaware to say that. Right. And so also it's just racist. It's very That's racist. Just racist. And so people were like getting up and walking out. People were like calling him out about it. And he like issued an apology. Something. Whatever. And I think that same year there was like our student body president was my first year I went in, I believe she was a black student was our student body president. And then the next year it was a white student who won against another black student. Yeah. And that white student took a picture and posted on Instagram right before the school year started where she was on a former plantation. And she posted this picture like, oh, this is so beautiful. And so much backlash. Like people were like, this is who you guys are allowing to be your student body president. Like she's celebrating like the aesthetics of a place where people were killed. Yeah. So it was like not a great year for the school. Yeah. Rightfully so. Like it was definitely a teaching moment. 2020 was for a lot of people in general. Yeah. As it should have been. And as it still should be at this point. But yeah. So then I think like going into that summer afterwards, I think summer 2021, I ended up like meeting a guy like that summer, and he and I like really connected. And then I went away to school again. And when I came back for like fall and winter break, like he and I would just like hang out more and more. And we were finally just like, you know what, we have feelings for each other. Like, let's just be boyfriends. And like, I'm in my senior year at this point, and like, I've gone down this like spiral where I'm just like, you know what, by the time I graduate, I don't want to be in this anymore. Yeah. Like, I'm feeling like very much that I'm not accepted, whether I am trying to be straight or whether I'm trying to be celibate, like nothing's good enough. And so I was just like, so I'm just going to be who I want to be without hating myself for the first time in my life. Yeah. And so like, as I was going into my senior year, I was, because I had put on a pretty face. They were like, oh, now you can be in the missions program, and now you can like do this and that, and like we'll have you like up on the chapel stage like praying and all this stuff. But they didn't put me in the missions program as someone to just go on a trip. They put me at the top of the missions program. They thought I was doing great. So I would go into like the missions office like late night because like I had like the key card or whatever. And like I would be like working on like my senior thesis and just like on FaceTime with him the whole time.
Yeah.
Like just like spending as much time as I could like in secret. I started to realize that my mom was getting a little bit more involved in church than I expected. And so like I told her, I was like, yeah, I'm dating a guy. And like, yeah, I just want to let you know. And she's like, well, okay, yeah, like I still love you. Like I've always kind of known. It's like, like whatever makes you happy is like what I want for you. But there was like still like some like sense of, okay, like what's the church going to think about this? And I don't think she like fully like realized that like I was like stepping away from the church at the time.
Yeah.
And then when I told my dad, I went to my dad's house, and like my dad and I didn't have like a really close relationship, nor like we're still not super close, but I remember I was just kind of like, hey, just so you know, like I'm dating someone, and it's a guy. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. And I like walked out the door. And so he called me the next day, and he's like, you really just dropped like a bombshell on us and left.
Yeah.
Like we had no idea that you were even into guys. Like we're very happy for you. We still love you. We're proud of you. And so then I was like, all right, I want to tell my siblings, or at least some of my siblings. Years and years back, my brother had said something about like if he had a son that was gay, he would disown him.
Okay.
And I remember like just like harboring this like really disdain, like almost hatred for my brother, like for a long time because of that.
Absolutely.
And like I really held that against him. And so I remember telling my mom like, yeah, I'm nervous to tell my brothers because like they said this one thing like years and years back. And I had like planned like this whole like, oh, like all the siblings can come over, like, and I'll like tell them then. And so like I walk into the house and all my siblings are there, and my brother comes up and he's like, oh, I'm so happy for you, and I could never like hate you. And I'm like, for what? And he's like, and he like looks at my mom, and I was like,
really?
Okay, thanks.
Whatever.
I guess I was like, this is supposed to be like a really important juncture in my life, but and
cool,
like again,
you do
like,
it, I guess.
So it's like I know my mom means well, so I didn't hold it against her,
Yeah.
but I did have to like tell her like that was not cool. Like I don't do that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that was like this first like moment where I was like, okay, like I'm being accepted for being who I am at this point. And so then I remember I told some of my friends, like some of my really close friends that were like no longer in church. So it was kind of like I knew that they would be a little bit more okay with it. And then I lied to some of my closest friends for the next year while I was home. And I was like always telling them like, oh, I have to work, or like I have like plans already. Like anytime they wanted to hang out on like Valentine's Day, I knew I was going to like post something for my boyfriend. And so I was like, okay, I need to tell everyone. So I like made these group chats for like my friends from school, and I made a group chat for like my friends from home. And I like sent this like long message, and I was just like, for so long, like I was just like trying to be straight and like be the person that everyone wanted me to be. And like it got to a point where like I was like literally praying that God would just kill me before I hooked up with a guy again, so that I could go to heaven. Like, because like then at least I'd be in like this repentant mindset, and like I would have a chance. And I was like, but like now I'm like dating a guy, and like I finally don't want to die for like the first time in years, because I don't feel like anything's like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong, essentially.
Yeah. Wow.
And
that's huge.
I was so nervous about how they were going to respond. And like, I'm a big like movie like guy. So I just like sent the message, and then I turned on like do not disturb and just like went to the movies. And like, and so then I like get out of the movies, and I like open my phone, and I have like all these messages from my friends, and they're like, we're so sorry that you felt like you couldn't tell us. Like,
wow.
Like we love you no matter what. We want to meet your boyfriend. And like, I was just like so taken back by like the overwhelming amount of love that I got from these people that are still in church.
Yeah.
And like this like sense of like, I like almost that I had robbed them of like getting to know my boyfriend at the time. And so they were just like they were like, we're not mad at you at anything except for that you've like had to lie to us, and like we've been wanting to hang out with you, and like you've been lying to us about it. So I was like, wow. So finally like I was able to like bring my boyfriend around, and it was like great. And I remember like I posted on Valentine's Day for like we had just been together for like over a year at that point, and like the post had like over like 300 like shares or something like that.
Wow.
And like I mean, I definitely lost a lot of followers, but I got a lot of followers as well.
Yeah.
And like it was almost like instantaneous that like people from my school were like texting and like asking some of my closer friends like, wait, is this real? Like, wasn't he in the missions program? And like, yeah. So then like my bosses from the missions department were not happy, to say the least.
You're out of school though.
I'm
right?
out of school.
So it's
yeah.
like, what are they going to do to you?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I lied straight to their face for like over a year.
Oh, because you mentioned you've been dating for that long.
Exactly.
So they
yeah.
knew
so
that you had been dating
like,
the whole time.
Yeah. And then like one of my coworkers from the missions department was like, oh, well, why didn't you think you could tell me? I was like, girl, I couldn't tell anybody. Like I would have been expelled.
My
like,
job, my
like
school.
I was like, it was literally everything about my life would have like been upended if I told anybody.
Yeah, your degree would be at risk.
Yeah,
kind of important.
Yeah, so I was just like, it was very entertaining to see like how big of a deal it was to these people that I did not care.
Yeah,
like I had already gone through and unfollowed so many people from my school because I was like, I'm never gonna see you again. I'm never gonna talk to you again. Like, and so like to see all these like people that are unfollowing me, but like my following count is like staying the same because I've already unfollowed these people.
Right.
It's like I could care less about your opinion anyway.
Affect you.
But yeah, and so then like at that point, like my boyfriend and I, like we were doing well. We just ended up breaking up because like our goals and like what we wanted for our lives were just like not
growing up.
Yeah. And I ended up moving to New York because I had some friends from Long Island that I went to school with. Yeah. And so I ended up like moving up there because I knew the area because of them, moved in with one of their friends. And then I just moved to the city last year. Yep. I mean, it's been great so far.
Yeah.
Like
now you're just living.
Yeah. And I've definitely like realized I have a lot of like unlearning to do.
Yeah.
Especially like just in like last year when I had my first Pride essentially. That I actually like celebrated for.
Yeah.
So like being in New York City for Pride and like starting to understand like the weight of like the history of it all and like it just like really started to set in like for me like wow, like I had these like conservative views for so long that are like so harmful to people.
Yeah.
And like that I'm judging these people based on like nothing else other than like them just wanting to be happy and like love themselves.
Absolutely.
And I was like, that's exactly what I wanted for myself. Like, where do I get off like wanting to be judgmental towards these people? So yeah, it's been a really like great year of like growth for me.
Yeah.
And like I met a guy last June that I've like been with essentially since then. So we've been dating for almost a year now. And like he's very much like kind of taken me on this like journey and like helped me to grow and like learn a lot of things about like just like New York City in general, but also like so much of like the culture here surrounding like the LGBT community. And it's just like it's been a great year for me being in the city, and like I don't expect to be anywhere else anytime soon. So yeah, that's why when we connected and I was like, oh wait, like you were literally in the same circles that I was
not
in
long
for
ago.
years. Yeah,
not long ago at all.
I was like, this is a great connection is what
Absolutely.
It seems like. So
lots to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's wild. You got a incredible story. I think something that stuck out to me, like, how would you say you feel? Because I imagine back then you're being all these different people. You're trying to be good, and then you feel bad, and you're kind of compartmentalizing in some ways.
Absolutely.
Pieces of yourself. How does it feel to just be existing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like I don't have to worry about like people seeing me in the street like holding another guy's hand.
Yeah,
like people can have their opinions, but like it feels so free at this point. Like I don't need to worry about like what people are thinking of me, what I'm posting on social media. I don't need to like think twice about like where I'm at location wise, if there's a cup of alcohol or like some questionable substance in the background. Like I'm just like, okay, I can just post whatever I want because like who cares? Like this is my life. Like I'm very happy with like who I am and like where I'm living. And so I don't have to like hide these like aspects of my life or like be more straight in one environment and be more gay in another environment. Like I can just like be who I want to be and like let that just like speak for itself. Because like for so long, like I was like in like these like male dominated spaces where like we're all trying to be like these like very like straight mask guys. And like and like also trying not to like make people think that I'm gay. So I have to like almost pretend to be gay.
Right.
Because straight guys have such a weird dynamic.
I know.
Where like they have to act gay with each other, otherwise they are gay. And it makes no sense.
In those circles especially.
Yeah. So trying to like navigate that was like very interesting at the time. But yeah, now it's like I don't have to do that. Like it's almost like there is no navigation. Like I don't have to like change my vocabulary. I don't have to like be worried about like what's gonna pop up on my Instagram if I'm like scrolling through or whatever. It just feels like very freeing. Absolutely.
It feels like just what everybody else describes as normal living without trying to do all the code switching, all the constant moderation of behavior.
For sure.
Just insane. How have you, just before we wrap up, like how have you navigated this with your spirituality? Are you still on that journey? Are you kind of figuring that out?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am figuring it out. Because when I left the church, I remember telling my friends like, I'm not leaving the church because I don't believe in it anymore. I'm leaving because a lot of me really does still believe in it, and I've seen a lot of hypocrites in the church, and I'm not going to be one of them.
Wow.
I'm not going to be someone that I feel is like saying, oh, I believe the Bible and I believe that the Bible says being gay is wrong, but I'm still going to be gay and I'm still going to come to church. Like, because like that was just like what my mindset was at the time. So I didn't want to be that person, because I'd seen people all the time when I was in church that were being like either hypersexual or doing like being like alcoholics or like whatever you want to like call sin, and then coming into the church and like acting like it was all fine, and then like it's just not the lifestyle that I wanted, because again, like that would be me compartmentalizing, I felt like. So yeah, I left the church because I just wanted time to like really figure out what I actually did believe, and not just like what I'd been told since I was really young, and now I have to like unlearn it essentially. So I'm definitely trying to figure out everything as it comes, but for the most part, like I definitely still think that there's like some room of like some area where I do still believe in a lot of like what I learned in church. But there is still like a lot of fear of like, oh God, I hope hell's not real. Because like at that point it's like, oh God, like I definitely have like a lot of anxiety, and like, just surrounding death in general and like the uncertainty of it all. Like it definitely like freaks me out for sure, because it's like always been like an either or situation that I've had to deal with like for the 9 years essentially of my life. So yeah, I mean, I think I still believe in some way, especially now that like a lot of my family, like my siblings and stuff, have been going to church with my mom. Like I think like a lot of things that they believe I would still agree with, but there's so much that I feel the Western church is like really like just kind of convoluted, and it's not something that I want to be a part of as is right now.
Especially like politically, I'm with you there. It's really hard to want to associate with it politically right now. No, I relate to that a lot. I feel that a lot of what Christianity has done with spirituality is not for me, but in my heart, I still feel connected to it. So I've been navigating where that is. And a lot of what I feel that God was when I was growing up and younger, I don't attach to what people say Christianity is now. Because a lot of it isn't even biblical. A lot of the principles that the Christian church is operating in this country, not even fully biblical. There's a lot of stuff that's cherry picked, that's focused on.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I really feel that that's between you and God. And all these people that are throwing stones are in the church doing who knows what, and they're judging anyone else for being different.
Absolutely.
And gosh, if the Bible is really all about welcoming and loving, and Jesus spent all his time there in welcoming and loving people that are different, and this is what the church looks like, you know something's not right.
We're doing a piss poor job then.
So yeah, I'm on the same page. I'm like, I don't have all the answers, but I think it'll be it might be a journey forever.
Absolutely.
The fear of hell is going away, so that's nice.
Hopefully
that goes away for you too.
Hopefully, I mean, I recently had to deal with like the first like really close proximity death that I've ever really had to in my life. So like that has definitely been like, okay, what do I actually believe about this? Because I mean, it's a weird understanding, like when you don't have like this laid out like belief of like, okay, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah,
like
the
when
perfect structured beliefs.
When you have to step away and be like, okay, what actually do I believe? And then like something happens, like someone passes away. It's like, okay, so what actually do I believe? Because like this is a very fragile thing that we're dealing with right now.
It's scary.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe the idea was wrong that we could ever have it all completely figured out.
Yeah, I think so.
I think faith should mean you don't have all the answers perfectly sorted, you know?
Yeah.
That's the idea of faith in general, but we seem to have lost that in the mix.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess anything else you want to say? What would you say to like 18-year-old self right now if you could say to him just real quick?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be where I am right now if I didn't go through all the things that I went through. So like I would say like it's going to be hard, but just keep doing what you're doing. Like you're going to come to a day when you'll know like the right answer and the right choice, but like you're going to love your life someday.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be despite like what you believe. It's going to be regardless of what you believe. You're going to love people around you. You're going to love yourself even more. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything that I did up through my life, because if I didn't go to school in Oklahoma, I wouldn't have met the people I did that would have allowed me to move out to New York.
Yep.
And me being in New York now is like one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I definitely am like very happy I'm here and glad that I had the opportunity, but also I wouldn't want to change anything if it meant that I wouldn't have ended up here, because God knows if I hadn't left Ohio, if I hadn't gone to Oklahoma, then I would probably still be in the same situation that I was when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
So
that's super good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. And
thank you for having me.
I mean, it's easy to get here because
exactly.
No,
just down the hall.
If people want to find you, he's a big movie guy. He's doing movie reviews. He's got a little thing on TikTok, a little thing on Instagram. How can they find you if they want to? Spy on you, stalk you a little bit.
My Instagram is my name, Jordan Tolbert. I think there's an underscore before and after that.
Okay.
And then like my bigger platforms are just like my Letterboxd, which is Jordan Tolbert 18, and then I think all of it's basically the same around that. I think TikTok is it's a work in progress. I'm getting there, but
we'll see.
I think it's a play on the old Teen Nick show, Just Jordan. So that's the name I went with on TikTok. If anyone wants to have a look over there. Awesome. But yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thanks for doing this. This was a good time. Well, until next time.
Till next time, yeah.